All right, so it is 2 o'clock. I am so excited to get started with our webinar today in partnership with Community Boost. They're going to be diving into 5 tips to use Facebook and Instagram ads to boost your nonprofit's year-end fundraising. So we have Eric Linson here, nonprofit marketing specialist from Community Boost. He's managed over $1 million in Facebook ads and has really seen a lot of growth when it comes to using ads for nonprofit organizations to increase their audience. So he's helped increase cause awareness, drive valuable actions, and raise money for over 30 organizations. And he can't wait to share Community Boost's 5 tips to use Facebook and Instagram ads to boost your nonprofit's year-end fundraising. So before diving in, my name is Candace, and I am the Manager of Success and Education here at CauseVox. So we are going to be recording today's discussion, so feel free to, of course, take as many notes as you want, but you will be able to replay this afterwards. So you can keep an eye out for that recording that should be going out tomorrow. Again, we are going to be doing a Q&A, so please feel free to send any and all questions throughout our session in the chat pane or the Q&A panel. We'll take a look at both, and then we'll get to those at the end. So like I said, I'm from CauseVox, and this webinar is presented by CauseVox. CauseVox is a digital fundraising platform for nonprofits that can help you grow your online fundraising so that you can raise more with less effort. So while a lot of fundraising software out there is clunky, it's complex and contract bound, CauseVox helps make your digital fundraising really easy. So you can run your donation pages, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer fundraising, and most recently seeing a lot of virtual events really easily with less time and with less hassle. So if you're interested in learning more about CauseVox, feel free to check us out. We have donation forms, so you can use us for your donation button on your website, crowdfunding, so you can really just launch and fundraise very easily, and then peer-to-peer fundraising, which is a lot of what our virtual fundraising is run on at the moment. And basically you can leverage your community to raise funds for you. So we make it all really easily done on CauseVox. So just diving into our topic of discussion for today, I just want to step back and lay a little bit of the groundwork. So something that we've seen here at CauseVox is what we're calling the Great Convergence. So even before coronavirus, over the last, 10 years, there's been a huge shift from mostly in-person and in-person fundraising tactics or over the phone or a lot of fundraising tactics that weren't online, but of course now that has always been increasing over the last 10 years or so. So with that shift, there's always been this overlap between marketing and fundraising, but it's been kind of slowly coming together and becoming the same kind of role. And so we always knew that this blend of marketing and overlap between marketing and fundraising was coming. But now, post-COVID, in this real rapid shift to digital-first fundraising, the role of marketing and the role of fundraising is quickly becoming one and the same. So we call this the Great Convergence, is what we've kind of tagged it on our end as. But basically what's happening now is that the best marketers are the best fundraisers and vice versa, because with everything taking place online, you're trying to drive more traffic to your website or your most recent fundraising campaign or your virtual fundraiser, and all of that is done through digital marketing. So it all really goes hand in hand. So when we think about what the future of fundraising is going to look like, it really does look like that the nonprofits that do the best at adapting their marketing to digital and make their audience stand out prominently online are going to be the ones that best survive and really thrive in today's digital first landscape. So so it's just all about adopting a comprehensive digital first marketing and fundraising strategy. So all of this kind of leads us to our digital fundraising cycle. So we actually put this out about last year. We noticed that really it's all about an ongoing effort to attract, nurture, and convert more donors for your organization. And so that's really what we're going to be talking about today, is the almost like attract phase when it comes to building your digital audience. So that looks a lot like trying to increase your web traffic. And so this can be done through digital ads, social media, and paid ads. And so all of this is going to be covered primarily by focusing on digital ad strategy, especially on Facebook and Instagram. So a lot of what we're going to be talking today is hyper focused on helping you increase your audience through social ads. So with those new people that you're attracting into your audience, you're going to be able to engage them and nurture them. So incorporate them into your email nurturing and your social media to help you get a wider audience for your end campaign and promote, basically attracting a bigger audience so that you can then promote your campaign to and then convert them really easily. So whether that's driving people to your website to donate on your website, or driving them to a peer-to-peer campaign, or anything in between. It's all about increasing your audience for your end fundraising. And so what we always recommend doing is that, having this be a continual process where you're always attracting, nurturing, and converting more donors, and by leveraging your existing audience as well through either peer-to-peer fundraising or upgrading them to recurring donors, so that you continue to build your fundraising through even your existing networks and continue to nurture those who have given in the past. So you can continue to converting them. So that is a look at the digital fundraising process. And I'm so excited for everything Eric's going to share about growing your audience through Facebook and Instagram ads. So Eric, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Candace. And when we think about a digital fundraising cycle like that, it would be foolish not to include Facebook as like a core driver of all three of those stages. And then also when we're combining marketing and fundraising like that, it's a huge opportunity to get brand awareness out and tell your story, and also to fundraise in a really tangible way where you can actually see the numbers of impact that you're driving straight from your advertising efforts. But just jumping in, Facebook and Instagram as platforms reach 40% of the world's population and 75% of high-income earners, which, if we stop for a second, is really crazy to think about, because you can't really find another platform that reaches that level of scale, that many people, with the level of customization that it has. In the past, in any advertising channel, if you want to reach people who golf, for example, you advertise in a golf magazine, which maybe reaches a couple thousand people, but you can reach millions and millions of golfers through Facebook today. And the same goes for every one of your nonprofits that have even what you think might be a niche service offering or a niche supporter base. Those people, I can basically guarantee you, are on Facebook, and we're about to go into how to find them and interact with them. And then as a fundraising platform, it's been validated. It's raised over $3 billion to date. And we think that number is only going to increase in time to come. A good indicator of that is Giving Tuesday 2019, where there was $120 million raised, 1.1 million individual fundraisers, and 97,000 nonprofits benefited. These are all numbers that are on the Facebook platform alone, so they're not including people who ran ads driving website visitors or donors to a donation platform like CauseVox. But we also have this interesting shift in the last 4 years where Facebook as a platform is hitting the part of the curve where it's starting to slow down as far as new user adoption. It's only had a 34% increase in monthly active users in the last 4 years, but everyone's starting to realize how powerful of an advertising platform it is. So there's been a 75% increase in advertisers on the platform. Basically what that means is that there are more people competing to show ads to more people, but at a slower rate. So less people, essentially meaning cost per 1,000 impressions, cost per your valuable actions that people take after seeing your ads, they should all be going up because there's more people competing for a scarcer resource. But what we've seen is that even with a more crowded space, the more advertisers, revenue per user has actually increased 80% in the same time period, which doesn't make any intuitive sense right off the bat, right? Because you have more advertisers advertising to less people. Your results should be going down because it's a more crowded space, but actually results are increasing. And we've seen this for almost all the nonprofits we work with. The return on ad spend numbers, their revenue numbers are all still going up, you know, in the past 4 years. And the one reason for that is data. So again, in comparison to any other advertising platform, TV, Facebook, radio ads, or TV, radio ads, magazine ads, any of that, none of them have even close to the amount of data that Facebook has. They have a pixel on basically every website on the internet, and they collect data points like hundreds of times every day on exactly what everyone is doing. And they use that data to find people who are most likely to do what you want them to do. So if we have a nonprofit that we're trying to raise direct donations for, and we give Facebook a list of people who have donated in the past with value of how much they've donated, Facebook can sort those people and then match new people who are likely to donate because of all of the data points that they have, which means you can be much more efficient, again, in this platform compared to others, and finding exactly who's most likely to take the valuable actions related to your nonprofit. So that's the overview of Facebook ads. We think it's in a really good spot, but it's always helpful to bring it into a more real world example. So we'd love to share how we worked with TCF USA, one of our clients, when they tried Facebook ads for the first time, and then how they use the platform, 3 years going to just increase revenue online. So TCF USA was a great organization, and in 24 years they built 1,500 schools and provided education to over 250,000 children. So a great organization whose mission was really strong, and they had these 2 upcoming campaigns: their first ever back to school campaign in the summer of 2018, and then 2018 year end. And then their strengths, they had a really strong donor list, which is always extremely helpful, again, with that data that you use when running Facebook ads. And then they have really tangible and transparent donation appeals. So donate $144, you send a girl to school for a year, like extremely tangible, and really clear on the impact. Of course, weaknesses, they've never run a back to school campaign, and they had no Facebook ad history to build off of, which is definitely difficult, especially when they also have a minimal Instagram following, on getting started when you don't have that much data in the Facebook platform of in the pixel to build audiences off of. But we built out their first back to school campaign, only spent around $5,000, and then ended up bringing in around 17 grand, which is like a 3x return on ad spend, which is pretty good numbers. And especially for nonprofits that are, just starting out and just validating the platform with that low spend. And so that was the summer of 18. And then we were like, all right, this works. Like, we put in $1 and get, $3.34 back in donation revenue. Like, let's try to scale this a little bit, especially for year end when it's such a valuable fundraising period. So going into year end 2018, we spent $8,800, and we brought in 217,000, which is a 24x return on ad spend, which, again, if we can find another channel where we can do this in, we would absolutely love to. But these are crazy results that have a really huge impact, because that sends thousands and thousands of people to school. So then third time, year end 2019, we upped the spend a little bit to $9,500, and then brought in $187,000 for a 19x return on ad spend. So again, that's speaking to platform is getting a little bit more crowded, especially these year-end periods where everyone is advertising, not only nonprofits, but also all these for-profit companies in Q4. It's getting a little bit more competitive, but we can still see crazy return on ad spend numbers that drive really tangible results for your nonprofit and help you, scale to the next level digitally. But I think this is a really cool case study example of how we can start with Facebook ads and then really push them throughout the process and build upon each campaign before. So before we jump into the tips, it is really helpful for us to get a gauge of what your guys' experience is in Facebook ads. So if you could answer the poll, it could help, how advanced or simple we're going to make the conversation in the next coming slides.
Awesome. And yeah, so I've launched the poll. A lot of responses coming in. This is great. I'll leave it up another maybe 10 seconds and then I'll close it out. All right, I think that's about what we're gonna get. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. And share the results.
Cool. It's great to see the one organization that is using it as a major fundraising lever. That's great. And I definitely understand that we've tried it, but haven't got the results we had hoped for. You guys understand how complicated the Facebook ads platform is. And so hopefully we'll be able to clarify things a little bit and give you some actionable tips you can use to up your return on ad spend numbers. And then for everyone that hasn't tried it, highly recommend it. We honestly think you're leaving money on the table if you don't start investing in Facebook ads now. And if you don't invest now, it's going to get harder and harder to build that digital presence in the future. But let's get into it. So tip 1 is lead with gratitude. So I'm sure most of you guys have been on Facebook before, and you understand what it feels like to be bombarded with ads and asks, especially in a fundraising period like year-end 2020, when nonprofits have been running fundraising appeals since early March when their doors had to close. Donor fatigue is almost more real now than ever before. And a way that we like to stand out is by actually treating our donors like human beings that they are, and saying thank you to them. We can treat Facebook as like a revenue machine where you're just putting in ad spend and trying to get back donation revenue over and over. But our donors are human beings, so we need to say thank you. And it means a lot when we can run ads that their sole purpose is to say thank you to them before we actually run a fundraising appeal. So these are some examples. These examples on the left with TCF USA's ads, we ran thank you ads to their donor base, and their donor base, there was actually a positive return on ad spend from the thank you ads, meaning all donors saw is that they're being thanked for their work. They're really appreciative. The engagement on the ads shot up, and then they actually ended up donating after seeing them, which we thought was really cool. And then what this also does is it creates a really valuable engagement. People are more willing to engage with ads that say thank you as opposed to one that's asking them to do something, and maybe ads that share a nonprofit story. And so when you build that engagement on an ad, it shows the Facebook algorithm that this is quality content, and then it distributes it for lower cost per clicks and lower CPMs, cost per 1,000 impressions in the future. So building up that quality engagement is a tip that works really well with thank you ads, but just Facebook ads in general, if you can even use an organic post that has engagement built up. And then jumping in just to some tips that we've written out. Earn virality. So again, with that engagement, you have your donors and people who care about you and your cause most liking, engaging with, and sharing your ads and your posts. So that means you get free eyeballs of their friends who are probably also willing to donate seeing the ads, which is always super helpful. Connection to donors, again, just treating them like real humans. Retargetable engagement. If they're liking an ad that says thank you to them for donating and they're engaging with it, maybe they're watching the video for the whole time, that's someone who you can then advertise to with a different story when you're actually making a donation and fundraising appeal. And there are a bunch of technical ways you can do that in the Facebook platform. And then the fourth one is just oftentimes they convert. So like those TCF USA ads, we're running ads to say thank you and to thank people for the donations, but sometimes those can even be a fundraising tool in themselves, which is just awesome to see. Moving into the second tip is measure what matters. So one of the great things about Facebook ads, again, compared to other platforms, is you can see all of these metrics. So in this top image, this is by ad set and audience. So we can see how many people we're reaching with this ad set, how many impressions, our cost per valuable result, and then how much we've raised by each ad. And then there's a bunch of other metrics we can track too. But basically, this is just really valuable because you can see I'm targeting people who are interested in surfing and who are veterans, for an example, for one of our one more wave, one of our clients. And you can see how many people made a donation online because of who were in that group, and then how much that donation value is and what you're paying for that donation. So you can make like a straight ROI calculation. And then you can see how that changes if you're targeting your donors, who again might be in your donor list, but they might have not gotten your email or your SMS. So, reach them where they are, which is on Facebook. So you can see how numbers change there. So here we can see like we're paying $25 per purchase here and only $2 per purchase here. And we drove 108 purchases in this middle funnel audience, which is people who have engaged with ads and then maybe went to the website and left. So they've shown intent in donating to this specific nonprofit and then left, and then we remarket to them again. And then you can even see key metrics by ad, which is super helpful. So if you see this ad specifically versus this ad might have different cost per purchases. And then because of that, you can make or bring back really valuable learnings as to like which messaging is working and which messaging isn't. And those learnings can be implemented in your website design, in your organic storytelling, in your email marketing, in all of that, because you can test it against different demographics and see what actually drives results in terms of messaging. And then again, some tips just for measuring what matters. One is to focus on the right metrics. So are you running an ad campaign because you want to raise awareness for a certain cause? Then you shouldn't be looking at donation numbers. You should be looking at how many people watched your video for 3 seconds, how many people engaged with your ad, which is like liking or sharing or clicking on it. And those are for like what we call upper funnel metrics. So if someone has never heard about your nonprofit before, you don't want to run an ad telling them to donate straight away. You want to tell your story, and then you gauge success for that ad based on how long they watch the video and how much they engage with it. And then if you run an ad to your donor base, for example, you want to see how are they donating from these ads and how much are they donating. So like purchase conversion value. It also, another key tip is to value your best supporters. So you really want to look at lifetime value more than one-time donation amount. So if you can have tools where you can segment out lifetime value for different donors, you can upload lists like that into Facebook, and then Facebook can match new people to your most valuable supporters, which is always super helpful. And then again, like when we're calculating ROI and return on ad spend numbers, you need to be taking into account lifetime value, because it might make sense to pay more money than someone donates for the first time to bring in a donor that donates, once every month for the next 3 years. So, and then again, it just proves your marketing impact. So if you're in the position where you really want to invest in Facebook ads, but you need to tell the story to someone and you need to pitch them on it, all these measurable metrics are really helpful in proving that it's a genuinely impactful fundraising channel. And then pro tip is to measure your lifetime value based on the first interaction. And so we have this little image here. We have Jane, where her donor acquisition cost is $35. You're paying $35 to turn her from someone who's never heard of our nonprofit into a donor for the first time. The first time she donates is $55. So it's a return on ad spend of like 1.6 on October 5th. And then we have John, who the same donor acquisition cost, but he donated $75 the first time. So it's like a 2.14 ROAS. So I'd love for you guys to put in the chat which donor you'd rather have. And the only difference is that one donated on October 5th and one donated on December 31st. $10.5, Christopher. Correct. We had one answer, but Chris was correct. So oftentimes we can see if someone donates on a day like December 31st, you just want to think about their donor psychology when they're making that decision, which oftentimes can be, I need to get expenses out before the end of the year. And so I'll donate more one time, but my lifetime value might be less, versus someone who donates on the 5th, when it's a little bit harder to find and convert a new donor, their lifetime value might be more. Again, this is kind of a silly and like hypothetical situation. But the point being that we want to be really cognizant of when we're looking at how donors are coming in and calculating lifetime value based off of that, because that informs our decisions of how much we want to spend in the channel, and who we want to target more than other people. So tip 3 is compelling creative. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. It's just a normal campaign donation pattern. So for year end, for example, it starts out with a spike when we launch the campaign, and then slowly goes into this like trough, and then it spikes again towards the end, that final push. So initial excitement, inevitable trough, big finish. And what we want to do when we're running a campaign is be able to lift this middle trough. And one of the ways that we can do that most effectively is through effective and compelling creative. We especially want to think about this now because we've been running fundraising appeals all year long, or not all year long, but since March, since COVID started. And what that means is campaign donation pattern is kind of stretched out for all of these months. And we're almost in a trough now where we really want to combat donor fatigue and fundraising fatigue. And the way that we think about doing that is with compelling creative. So we like to think, are donors tired of donating to a cause that they know has a positive impact on the world? Are they tired of having a positive impact on other people's lives? Or are they tired of stale fundraising asks, the same creative over and over, and not much effort put in to change up the story and make it something that really stands out amongst the crowd of all these other advertisers? And so the way that we like to do that is through creative. So a couple tips. One being create mobile-friendly content. 96% of active user accounts are on mobile. 65% of video views occur on mobile, and 91% of Facebook ad revenue comes from mobile ads. So we want to create, even if it's just a video coming straight from the CEO filmed on his mobile phone, or videos that fit in like a mobile aspect ratio, all of that stuff. We want to think about mobile first, especially as that's how we're going to reach new potential donors for the cheapest. And then a more detailed tip is just shorter headlines. So the headline is the line of text on the bottom of a Facebook ad. We don't want it to be more than 2 lines. Just aesthetically and as far as click-through rates, they perform worse. We want to think about like interactive campaigns. How can we use user-generated content and video? This ties into this last tip too, which is the whole world is more comfortable with Zoom and video tools as well. So like one of the nonprofits we worked with said, why don't we connect our donors with our beneficiaries through Zoom? So it's people who are donating to send people to school halfway across the world. Like how can you connect them together through a tool that everyone's using now, which is like Zoom or any other video conference tool? And in the same way, how can you make content for your fundraising campaigns that is user generated? And so that would mean like, how can you get your beneficiaries to film a thank you video to your donors? If you're, say, an orphanage or like a nonprofit sending kids to school, how can you have someone film from the beneficiary's view, thanking a donor, and then sending that video out in a Facebook ad to your donors? And that ties into just appeal to emotions. It's the most powerful tool we can use. Every nonprofit has a wonderful story. So how can we use compelling imagery and copy and video creative to tell our story to the right people, and just, again, stand out from the mass of fundraising appeals that everyone has gotten since March. And then we'll send you this deck afterwards as well. So this is almost just notes to see what type of creative works. Also, this is for one of our clients, and this is what worked for them. This goes for all of these tips, but the effectiveness of these tips are going to differ based on your own personal needs. So the best way for you to see what would work for you is just to schedule one-on-one time, which we're super willing to schedule with you guys. But this is just some slight tactics and tips that work for one of our clients, which is a theater. But you see, using video creative, appealing to emotion in the copy, a short headline, the right call to action, tactful emojis, all these things can help your creative stand out from other Facebook ads, and then make your conversion rates skyrocket. So tip 4, people prefer personalization. So again, this is like what makes Facebook stand out from the other platforms, is just that you can personalize so much of your creative to your targeting. So this is one of our clients where we wanted to target people who had an interest in animal welfare, and then also who cared about gorillas and monkeys specifically. And so in the interest targeting tool of Facebook, you can target people who are interested in gorillas or monkeys or orangutans, and must also be interested in animal welfare. And you can go as targeted and niche with this as you want. So you can, and we did in this ad specifically, it's just not shown, but it would be like also people of a certain income bracket, and you can even do people in certain locations in the United States, and just go as niche as you want for your specific nonprofit. But you can just see the results that we had from this ad. And then if we can think in our minds, like how can we personalize our own messaging for our own nonprofit, and how can we break out people who might want to hear about us with different angles, and then give different contextual messaging for each of those angles through Facebook. And so some tips for personalization. The first one being set the tone. So we can test out multiple campaigns with different fundraising tones to different segments of our donors. And then it'll feel personalized to that donor. So for example, or that potential donor. So you want a different campaign message that is concrete and specific to people who have never heard of your nonprofit before. And then even people who have never heard of your nonprofit who are from one part of the United States, or who, I mean, you could even do like who like a certain sports team, like super specific and targeted. And then you want different messaging for your donors, your most valuable donors, people who have donated in the past and then haven't donated in the last year, for example. And then relevant messaging, again, it's along the same lines, but oftentimes people don't mind being interrupted if the ad's message is interesting and relevant to them. That's why we need to be super careful and cognizant and intentional about our targeting, because if you show, especially with nonprofits where we're raising money to help solve a social need that people care about, if you see the opportunity to solve a problem that you care about in your Facebook feed, you're going to be grateful rather than annoyed that it's an ad. So just being focused on just delivering timely and relevant messaging there is great. And then again, map it out. So we like to create, like if you create a sitemap and you can see of our pages, like someone who visits this page is thinking this way, how can we speak to them that way? And then you run a remarketing campaign in Facebook to show ads to that person who went to that website or to that page on your website that are different from ads to someone else, and that are different from someone who's never heard of your nonprofit ever before. And again, like we've been basically saying this whole hour, so I don't need to harp on this, but your donors are all different. So treat them that way. You want to run different ads to someone who's completely new to your mission versus loyal advocates versus lapsed donors versus someone who's engaged with your ads all the time but never donated. Maybe that person you never asked to donate. You just asked them to engage with your ads because that's valuable to you, because it makes more ads cheaper to show to new people, and it gives you some earned virality. And then tip 5, the last one, I hope you guys aren't sick of my voice yet, but we're almost done, is always be testing. So Facebook's algorithm is always changing. Everyone's needs are completely different. And the way everyone's audiences interact, well, they might be similar to certain nonprofits. No one's audiences are exactly the same. And so the only way to truly find out what works is just to always be testing. And so testing everything. So testing the copy that you have at the top of the ad, testing your headline, your call to action, testing your image creative, video creative, testing different targeting options, testing everything. And so we recommend like having someone in the Facebook platform, you know, like very often, maybe like once every 2 days, and just consistently seeing what's working and what's not, documenting that to have key learnings, and just continuously testing and optimizing. It's these compounding of these really small wins and results that ends up getting you to a place where you're having a 24 times return on ad spend for a year-end fundraising campaign. Another key tip here is to find the relevance and frequency that works for your audience. This is a little bit more of a technical tip, and there's a bunch of these. Again, like we're happy to go through that if we schedule one-on-one time, but this is specifically finding the frequency that works. Frequency is how many times someone has seen your ad. So basically number of times over time for the measured time period. This is the formula, impressions over reach per time frame measured. And this, we've seen recently this changing where we used to have a cap on frequency where we don't want to show someone our ads with a frequency over 6. So having them seeing an ad more than 6 times in the time frame measured. But and we still recommend that for most of our clients, but for certain ones we have seen when we bring the frequency higher, we can actually see better results, which is just because the platform's super crowded and people can see your ad over and over and then basically not really notice it until, you know, you hit them like the 6th or 7th time, and then it kind of clicks and they click through to learn more about your cause and your nonprofit. But those are the 5 tips. I apologize for talking so much, but I hope it was a little bit helpful, and I hope you guys got some tactical advice. Again, we're always happy to jump on a quick call and talk more through exactly how we could help you with your specific Facebook ads. But just a quick overview. The first one, lead with gratitude. A simple thank you goes a long way. Measure what matters. Better measurement equals better data-driven decisions that you know are correct. Compelling creative. This is huge for especially this year end. How do we stand out from the crowd? How do we overcome fundraising fatigue? People aren't tired of having the ability to help a nonprofit they care about. They're tired of stale fundraising appeals. Personalize your message. You can go as granular with this as in any other platform and further in Facebook. And then always be testing, which is don't operate from a focus group of one. Don't say, I think this creative will work. Just, we talk about sometimes like a creative eddy, which is water's moving around in an eddy in a river, but you're not actually going anywhere, but you feel like you are because there's water moving around. You need to get out of that eddy and just let the customer decide what's correct. So put out as much creative as you can. You never know what'll be right until you show it to the potential donor and then let them decide. But I hope that was helpful. Again, we love to put these presentations together to help all of you. We're going to send this deck after as well, and we have a bunch of resources on our website if you want to learn more. But again, thinking about Facebook ads like this, it just really depends on the specific person we're working with and their cause. And we know that because we've worked with so many different nonprofits and see how their goals and results can differ. So the best way would be to schedule one-on-one time. We're happy to book a strategy session and dive deeper into like exactly what campaign works best. Even you're running this year-end campaign, you have some questions like, should I be using this audience or this one? Like, is my frequency too high here? Like, do my cost per purchases look right? Like even that detailed, we're happy to jump in and talk. So you can schedule that at community.boost.org/let's talk. And thank you guys. It was a pleasure. And I hope you're not sick of my voice yet, and I gave you some valuable advice.
Thank you so much, Eric. That was fantastic. I mean, just so much of what you said was like so practical, which I think is essential when nonprofits are trying to figure out and navigate, like, you know, Facebook ad platform is not something that, you know, even I'm super familiar with. So it was really insightful to see how practical it really is to reach, you know, an audience that is likely to donate. And thank you again also for going into all those case studies. I think that was really fascinating to kind of see how you're able to like grow the ROI and conversion rates on that. So this was fantastic. Thank you so much, Eric. I also pasted the link in the chat. So for anyone that does want to schedule a time with Eric or the Community Boost team, I recommend that you take a look and sign up. Sounds like a great opportunity to take advantage of. So yeah, so thank you all for staying on with us. And so really, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, it all really does tie into attracting and building your audience online, especially when it comes to thinking through year end and how your strategy can work for you. And so what's really important to think about when we're talking about marketing, especially, is that, so marketing is amazing. All of these tips can be so effective in driving donations and higher conversion rates. And, but you still need a platform or donation page on your website or wherever it is you're driving traffic to. You still want to make sure that the technology that you're using is also helping you increase conversion rates, and that those two things complement each other, that marketing and fundraising kind of like overlap in that way, where you're using conversion optimized forms to help you get more donations to your organization when you do drive all that traffic back to your organization. So one of the things, if you want to take a look at CauseVox, our forms and our peer-to-peer campaign template, as well as crowdfunding, is all mobile optimized and really optimized for conversion to help you get more donors through your marketing tactics. So if you're interested, feel free to take a look at causevox.com. I'd be happy to sit down for a 30-minute demo. I'd just learn more about your organization, hear what your goals are, and show you around the platform and talk through how it can really work for you. So if you're interested in that, feel free to take a look at causevox.com and submit a demo request. And I would love to sit down and chat with you. Also coming up, I thought this would be really interesting for you guys, is that we have our year-end fundraising course that's coming up. It is a paid course, but it's 3 parts. It's 3-hour-long sessions. If any of you did attend the Digital Fundraising Summit or have attended some of our other courses, it's Kelly McLaughlin that's going to be teaching it. She does a fantastic job of making it really easy and approachable for organizations to expand and grow their fundraising online. And so we're going to be specifically zeroing in on having a comprehensive year-end fundraising strategy that's designed to succeed. So if you're interested, please feel free to check it out. It's $20 off through Friday. And the classes start on the 8th. It's the 8th, 13th, and 15th of October. So feel free to sign up and get that discount through the end of the week. All right, I think that's about it. We're gonna take some time to go over all of your questions. I saw a bunch of questions coming in already, which is really exciting. And so yeah, feel free to keep sending your questions in. And if you have tried, for those who answered the poll earlier and said that you've tried using Facebook ads and weren't getting the return that you were hoping for, we would love especially to hear from you and what challenges and questions you faced. So yeah, sending in all your questions. So just a quick question from Marcia. Will we get a copy of the presentation? Yes. Eric is so kind to share the whole slide deck. So you're going to get that in the follow-up email that will go out, and then you're also going to get the recording so you can rewatch or share with your team. Okay, so let's dive into some of these questions here.
I have one from Dave. It's just hoping to learn today about year-end fundraising for a veterans organization. Really quickly, we have a case study on our website of working with One More Wave, which is a veterans organization that brings veterans with PTS and disabled veterans surfing for surf therapy. But we've seen huge success for them with the Google Ad Grant and Facebook ads. So if you go to our website, that case study dives in pretty good detail about that. But Facebook's a great place to target people who are interested in, who are patriotic, and even who are veterans themselves and who are willing to donate.
I actually found the URL to
Oh,
that,
here we
so
go.
paste
Thank
that in the link. Okay, great. And so let's see. Yes, Stephanie asks, is it too repetitive if the Facebook ads coordinate exactly with monthly newsletters and emails?
I would. So the way Facebook ads work, like they're delivered like from the time you set them live, all the time, and to different people. So you might have some overlap where like they're being delivered the same time your marketing emails are. There's not like a huge risk of that happening, but on a broader sense, like we usually need, 5 or more touch points to get someone to take a valuable action. If that's donate, and as long as the ad is calibrated to that donor's experience, then it shouldn't be repetitive at all. If anything, it'll be helpful to be omni-channel and to show up for your donors where their attention is. And then also, like, I'm not sure what type of open rates we're seeing on email, so it's totally possible you're sending a marketing email to your donors and they're not opening it. So that's like a year-end fundraising appeal. We can't just assume because we send an email to all of our donors that all of our donors are going to donate to us. We need a market for their attention constantly to show up in front of them. So I think Facebook ads can help with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And so I think this is a good question. How an anonymous attendee has asked, how often should your Facebook ad be a boosted post, or should your ads mainly be different from the content in your feed?
Yeah. Never boost a post. No, we can boost a post if we have like limited resources. But we personally, it's best practice not to boost them. There's like more targeting options we can have if we turn it into an ad. That being said, like I said before, when we have ads that have been engaged with, that increases the ad's quality engagement ranking on Facebook, which essentially means Facebook says, all right, this content is something that people engage with. It's quality content. I'm willing to show it to more people for less. So we definitely recommend posting what you are going to use as an ad on organic first, building up engagement. And then if you go into the Facebook ads platform, we can show you how to do this too, but you copy the post ID. And then when you go into an ad set in the ads manager, you paste the post ID into an ad itself. And then you can run that existing post that has the engagement as an ad, but you can get way more granular as to who you're targeting with that ad. Boosting a post is basically a lot easier to do, but you lose a lot of functionality. And if you're going to spend money boosting a post, you might as well spend money running an organic post as an ad.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for tackling that one. Charlotte asks, is there any concern using lists of email addresses from our donor database to create audiences in Facebook? Is this a breach of data privacy, and does Facebook have access to user emails afterwards?
So it depends on your specific privacy policy. We oftentimes use donor lists. I'm not an expert on this, but I think they need to check a box that allows your nonprofit to use the emails for marketing purposes. If anyone is more of an expert on this in the chat, feel free to chime in. But what I do know is that if you have a list of donor emails, and especially if you can tack on donor lifetime value or donation value to that list, you can upload it to Facebook Ads Manager and then tell Facebook to find new people who are extremely similar to the people who have already donated and based on their own value. So even if your donors haven't opted in to you using their emails for marketing purposes, you can create lookalike audiences off of their existing donor lists. And then you can run ads to completely new people, not even your current donors. And those can be like super effective, some of the most effective audiences. And it's to find completely new people to your nonprofit, completely new supporters.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think like lookalike audiences are one of like the most underused and tactics to really target a very specific audience. So definitely look into lookalike. Okay, great. And then let's see, what other questions? So I only really see, so Brett sent in a question, just really wanting to learn more about how to target people who might be interested in helping children in Kenya get an education. So, I mean, I think this kind of goes along with some of the case studies that you were sharing. But yeah, any advice for Brett here?
Yeah, I would have to ask a couple questions leading up. One main one would be like, do you have an existing supporter base? Do you have a donor list that you can use, again, to create lookalikes off of? Like, do you have website traffic that you can create lookalikes off of? If not, what we would probably do is, one, utilize the Google ad grant for sure, which it's kind of a tangent, but everyone in here should know about the Google Ad Grant. It's $10,000 a month in free advertising spend that Google gives to qualified nonprofits, which should be most of you. So you can utilize Google Ad Grant to bid on keywords that signal search intent of people who might be your supporters for free, because it's $10,000 for free per month. But you bid on those keywords, people will come to your website, and then you can use Facebook ads to retarget to those people with donation appeals. And then once you start building up an audience on Facebook, then you can create lookalikes off of that audience to find new people. You can also play around with the interest targeting inside of Facebook ads. And you can, I would have to look into specifically who you would target, but you can even look into like Save the Children is obviously a massive nonprofit, but they have their own interests. So you can target people interested in Save the Children or similar nonprofits who have a similar mission to yours. You can target people who recently traveled from Kenya and are in the top like 25% of incomes in the United States. You can target people who are interested in, I think it's like, you can target people who are interested in donating and volunteering, and then also who are interested specifically in education nonprofits, I believe. There's a bunch of stuff we can do. And if that doesn't help, I'd also recommend just checking out our blog. We have a bunch of tactical advice there. And yeah, hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think just like hearing more about like the range of kinds of targeting you can do is always helpful. And then yeah, Brett, I would say maybe take Community Boost up on their offer to talk and get more specific and really go over in detail more of the strategy. So yeah, any last questions from anyone here? I haven't seen anything else come in, but we do have a few minutes left. If anyone, looks like there's 51 of you still here. So feel free to send in your questions and we'll hang out for another couple minutes. So again, thank you everyone for joining. It's been such a great discussion and so many great insights that are really practical that you can implement at your organization to help you really grow your audience, especially through Facebook and Instagram ads. So thank you, Eric. It has been such a good conversation. So many great learning. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk to our community.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm sure you guys know because you're on a College Box webinar, but I definitely recommend following College Box's other content. You guys do great stuff. Your digital fundraising summit was really cool as well. And it's always a pleasure to collaborate with people who we know are making a good impact and have good, effective tools that we can endorse. So thank you guys all for your time. I hope you didn't get too sick of either of our voices. We were able to provide some valuable tactics and insights. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. And, it's always great working with Community Boost. I know like we partnered a little bit on the Digital Fundraising Summit. And so that was great. And it's great to have you. And I look forward to having more collaborations in the future. This is great. So
all right.
Thanks again. Take care. Have a good rest of your day.